Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Growth House Podcast, coming live from Cabo, here with my two guys, Cory Jacobson and Ryan Bevilacqua. Did I say that right?
Close, dude.
Just go ahead.
Bevilacqua.
Bevilacqua. There we go. I asked him right
It looks
before.
like your background, dude. A little Italian flavor.
Yeah, I should say it right if this is the background. So, fellas, before we get started, the Weekly Juice Podcast. Growth House family, the Weekly Juice Podcast is one of the reasons why I'm able to first become financially independent, second, start Growth House, third, be able to travel and inspire all of you guys and have this incredible community. Now, I'm not just saying that because there's only a couple podcasts that I was listening to back in like 2020. I was in my cubicle. I was trying to figure this whole thing out. And I was like, man, I need to surround myself with people, but the people just weren't there back in Portland, Oregon. So what did? I plugged into books. I plugged into podcasts. And these guys right here, I know I gave them the flowers on the show where they had me as a guest, but I just want to say again, like, fellas, you guys know we can go through the receipts. We got DMs, like Jesse DM'd you guys saying, hey, man, I appreciate you guys' show, listening to it. Boom. Hey, guys, I'm going to get my first house. Boom, got my first house. Hey, guys, it's following up. This happened. And so I just want to let you guys know, if you're listening and there's someone out there, there's a podcast that is helping you, inspiring you, and you're taking action, reach out to those people, because you never know what can happen. And this is like full circle for me. So fellas, thank you so much for being on the show. With that being said, Cory and Ryan, let's get into it.
Well, first of all, thank you for the intro, bro. That was awesome. And you're the person we think of when we think of like, oh, our show actually helped somebody. Like, it really provided some value. So we're happy to be reciprocal and come on yours. And you did say in the beginning live from Cabo, which made me seriously jealous because we're actually not in Cabo. Only you're live from Cabo, which is like, all right, we got to
true.
But I appreciate it, man. It's always awesome to chat with you. So let's get into it. And Ryan, you can go ahead.
Yeah. I won't say the same thing, exact thing as you, but yeah, Jesse, we're thrilled to be on the show, man. Full circle moment. We had a blast having you on our show. We'll definitely tap people into that episode, but when I say full circle, it really is like, I feel like we're brothers from another mother at this point. It's amazing that there are people out there chasing the same things on opposite sides of the world. And then when they finally clash and collab together, there's nothing better, man. So I don't think I've been more excited for a show in a long time. So we're excited to get this going, man.
Absolutely. It is kind of funny though, like when you just become friends virtually and then you meet each other in person, you're like, bro, I feel like I've known you for years. Like that's how it's going to be when we finally connect in person, which I'm excited for.
Me too.
So let's get this started. Cory, Ryan, I know you guys are from Philly. Is that correct?
I'm from Philadelphia. Ryan and I both live in the Philadelphia area. Ryan's actually from Massachusetts, but we are Philly guys now.
I love it.
We're locally living Philly guys. I gotta keep my roots. But
yeah, that's true.
Fandom wise.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sports. Yeah. That's a whole nother thing. But yeah, we're in Philadelphia and we've been here for like 10 years. So we're not in Cabo.
Yeah, concrete jungle of Philadelphia.
So this is how I want to start. I know you guys have a huge podcast now, Weekly Juice. Go check it out. But right now, give us an overview. What's the portfolio look like? What does the podcast look like? And then we're going to take a step back. Like, how'd you guys even connect? And then how'd you guys decide that you want to start this podcast together? So let's start with where you're at right now.
Cool. Okay. So I can start. Right now, Ryan and I have a few properties together. I have a couple on my own. That's just the two of us. And then we own and operate, we're partners on a short-term rental property management hospitality business in the Pocono Mountains. So I and another partner own that. We have an 18-unit general partnership that we're on. We have a 43-unit syndication that we're partners on, an 8-unit syndication that we're partners on, and then a ground-up development project in Arizona that we're partners on. So I didn't want to throw out there and say like, oh, we have 75 units because they're owned. Some of them we own fully and some of them we own in partnerships. But I like to be transparent about that because, there is a big difference. That's where we are today. And the podcast is kind of an organic networking tool that we've used to get there. We started the podcast about 4 years ago, literally April 2020 of COVID. And we decided, well, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to do nothing. I don't know what's going to happen with the world. I don't know what people are doing. Everyone's freaking out. I'm not going to do nothing. I still want to network. I still want to meet people. So I brought the idea to Ryan. I was like, do you want to, I had one property at the time and we both had our primary residences, I believe. Yep. And I said, do you want to talk about, we always love talking about personal finance, investing, real estate. Like, do you want to start a podcast about this? And the thought was originally like, well, we don't really have much. Like, what are people going to listen to us? And my thought was, I think they will. I think that they're going to latch onto the journey. That's what we're all about, like teaching people, not really teaching, but sort of coaching and mentoring people through the journey. We're not at the end destination. We're all still trying to grow and learn, but that journey is what people resonate with the most. So we started the podcast 4 years later. It has led us to these steps along the way: setbacks, failures, wins, losses, houses burning down, all of the above. And then we have our next phase that's coming up soon, but it's been fun. Him and I are like brothers, and we do everything together. I wish we'd go on vacation together. I've been bugging him about that. That's the only thing we don't do together. Well, I'll let you jump in.
Yeah, no problem. It's you get to a point in your life where it's hard to vacation together when married with a kid and then not married, but have a significant
on the
other.
way.
Yeah, different types of vacations. We will, dude, eventually. Just pop a kid out would be good.
All right.
Go to Disney, bro. But I will say just a couple things off of Cory, and then we'll let you carry on, Jesse. But I think the inception of the podcast is key to our journey. And I think the number one thing is we listened to a lot of podcasts out there when we were starting out, and we found it difficult to follow along with people's journey. They were at like thousands of units at that time. And, to catch up 10, 15 years to figure out how someone got to 1,000 units, there's so many things in between. So for us, what we wanted to do was start from our day one journey. We had a perfect landscape, right? A blank canvas, if you will, right? I had my primary residence, single family home. He had a single family home, and then he had one rental. And we were like, dude, this is a great place to start. Let's showcase our journey along the way. And as our episodes went on, we started teaching about, how to buy your first property, how to source financing, how to build your team. And then we were like, let's have some of these individuals on that are levels above us. We showcase their stories. And then throughout time, we ended up partnering with them and broadening our horizons and trying different strategies. And he mentioned our portfolio is comprised of a lot of different things right now, but what we really like to pride ourselves on is we've tried a lot of everything. We have single family homes, duplexes, we've done Airbnb, we've done apartment complexes and things like that. So we've kind of tasted the rainbow a little bit, and we're really niching down to figure out what we want to do for the future and what we want to focus our lane on. But it's all really because of the podcast and putting our message out there into the universe. I think that's kind of how we all connected anyways. It's like, once you have something, I was a little bit nervous in the beginning. I was like, dude, why? I want to start a podcast. If you want to start a podcast, we talked about this, but like, we're just going to talk about our journey. Like, how's this going to happen? And then my brain, of course, hit the pavement. I was like, dude, let's organize it this way. We'll start putting the episodes this way. We built it out. And it's really number one thing I want to say is it's like putting your journey out into the universe and putting like a platform together has helped us jump 10, 15 years ahead of where we probably would have been going along.
That's amazing. I love how you talked about that, because I'm sure you guys had imposter syndrome in the very beginning, because I know I did. But at the end of the day, that's the best way to start when you have that blank canvas. And I think someone told me, it was like, Jesse, you're being selfish if you're thinking of yourself over the fact of the people that you can help, because there's a lot of people that can't resonate or maybe just limited capacity. And I was one of those people. I'm like, Ed Milet is awesome. These guys are awesome, but there's so many levels ahead. Tony Robbins, like, yeah, I'll still listen to them, but I want the guys that are 1, 2, 3 chapters ahead. Because for me, those are the guys still in the weeds, and those are the guys that tactically talk about, what you're about to go through. So I think it's super important to document that journey. So I encourage anyone out there who's thinking about starting a podcast. We would not be on this podcast together if both of us didn't start a podcast. So a big proponent, big fan of, documenting your journey. How'd you guys overcome that imposter syndrome in the very beginning of being like, hey, I only own one property, but I'm gonna have a podcast about, financial freedom and real estate and, entrepreneurship?
Let me say one thing about imposter syndrome. It never goes away. Okay. And the reason why it doesn't go away is it may go away in some facet of your life, but then you get in a room with somebody who's doing 10x you, and then you have it all over again. So stop running from the imposter syndrome. Lean into it. Lean into the fact that, like, I might be scared to start this thing. It might not work out, but you can always pivot along the way. You're going to have imposter syndrome at every single roadblock or every single fork in the road about the new thing that you're doing. And that is something that it's funny, because Ryan and I are starting a coaching program right now. And we just had a conversation before we went on with you about, like, how the actual outcome is going to be for people that are coming into this. And we're formulating it. It's by this time this podcast is out, it's probably going to be launched. But the point is that even all the things that we've done, people from the outside looking in are like, they think it's all roses and it's all great. And it's like, we still have imposter syndrome, you know, like we still have that about the new thing that we're doing. And I don't think people should run away from it. I think you should lean in. And that's kind of like my take on it.
Yeah, I agree. There's a quote I really like, and it's very basic, but someone told me it a long time ago. They say, life truly begins once you step outside your comfort zone. And I didn't understand what that meant until I actually did it. I used to be super self-conscious and shy, you know, growing up before I got into high school and things like that. And I don't know what it was. For whatever reason, I just would kind of like curl up when I would get into certain situations. But once you start putting yourself into situations you're not comfortable with, your skin gets thicker and you build that force field and the callus, the muscle over time. And I think even for us, you know, I used to get like, in standing up in front of people, like start sweating and like nervous that what are they thinking about me? Am I going to say something dumb? And then you get on these podcasts, you're like, okay, I'm talking to a millionaire, a CEO of a company. Like, how are they going to receive me? Like, am I going to ask the right questions? You're always thinking about what you're doing and how it's going to be reflected. But as you go through things, you stop focusing on that, and you just, it takes practice and takes time and takes stepping out of that comfort zone for you to even get comfortable. So what I mean by this is like, if we just kept our story in the whole time and never did anything about it, we'd be in the same exact spot, maybe a little bit closer to our goal, but really putting your aspirations out into the universe and taking a leap and asking questions and understanding there's no dumb questions and being able to like source the end destination where you want to go and try to find roads to get there. I think that's really what allowed us to get there. It sounds so basic, right? And you're just like, oh, well, what do you mean you just ask questions? Like, no, well, I decided to tell exactly where I was on my journey and ask for help and say, hey, what would you do from here? If you could go back to your 18-year-old self or someone just starting out on their journey, what would you do? We just ask that question to ask it. It's like, okay, cool. Now I'm going to go do that. Like, I'm going to take what you said and make the next step. And so we just kept asking the right questions over time. And I basically putting a bow on this thing is try something that makes you feel super uncomfortable. And once that thing is done, you get this rush of feeling like you're alive. And that can go from anything to talking in front of people that you've never done before, or, you know, like think about something as like, I don't know if you've ever done like cliff jumping or like jumped off like a small bridge into like I'm saying this sounds probably dumb. Hey, jump off a bridge, but like
Bungee
like something that makes you like skydiving or something like that makes you fearful. And you're like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. You do it when you're done. You're like, holy crap, I want to do that again. You get that flooding feeling. And that's what we got after some of these episodes. We'd get people that we read books about complimenting us on how we navigate conversations, how we ask questions. And you get so juiced up and you're like, dude, we can do this. We're good at this. And so I think it comes down to putting yourself out there, and then you'll be surprised. It takes one person to believe in you to get that confidence to say, hey, let's keep going and keep going and keep going. And I think that's what carried us through the last 4 years, is like we had some people really like looked at to us that are way levels above us and like, dude, you guys got to keep going. And it kind of gets you through some of the dark days. And I know there's a lot of thoughts there, but I do firmly believe that you need to take a little bit of a leap of faith in life.
Mm-hmm.
If you just keep doing what you're doing, nothing's going to change.
So good. There's something we can go for an hour about fear in your comfort zone. One of my favorite quotes is just expand your comfort zone. So yeah, you can maybe hop out, but then don't hop back in. Go hop out, and then boom, now your radius is bigger. Now you can do more. Now you're not as scared. I think especially with like, I was in sales with cold calling. I used to be so scared to pick up the phone. I used to like have to run around, jack myself up. All right, pick up the phone. And so then it just became a habit. And then I just naturally got better and better when I just did repetition and just slowly just expanding that comfort zone. So I love that you touched on that. Another thing you touched on was it's not all roses. And I think it's super cool that you guys document the journey, because that's a way to be transparent. Like, no, we're not this multi-millionaire yet. You guys get to watch us stumble, fail. You get to hear about some of these stories. So obviously I want to have you guys share some of your wins. But let's start with the loss. Like, you said something burned down. Like, you want to walk me through what happened there?
Yeah, that was a big loss. I think it ended up being a win because of the insurance that we had on the property. But Rye and I, back in February 23, we had a property in South Jersey that we got a call from the tenant, and we don't get calls from the tenant because we have a property management company. So, and it was like 11 at night, and I was just about to go to sleep, and I didn't answer because I was about to, like, the communication typically goes through the property manager. And then we listened to the voicemail in the morning, and we found out, there was a fire at the property, and all the rush of the feeling of like, holy shit, man, the worst possible thing that could happen happened here. Like they say, like, oh, I'm not going to buy properties. Those things can get destroyed. They can get burnt. Like it literally got destroyed. And so it was like full, complete loss. And, we had to battle with insurance, and our property manager had to go out there and like all of the steps. And thank God we had the resources. One of the first people we had on the podcast was Chad Carson. And that's our guy. Shout out to Chad. He has actually, like, because we networked with him, he had a guide of like what to do. So we followed his guide, and we checked with the insurance company. We were waiting for the checks and this, that, the third. And it turns out it worked out for us because we ended up selling the property and getting and recouping all of our cash and more. But those fears that set in, like the worst possible situation. I mean, when I first bought my first duplex, within 3 weeks there was a rainstorm, and the storm like smashed through the windows. Basically, I don't know if it was lightning or whatever, but it was like raining inside my property. And I'm getting texts and calls, and I'm walking outside of my house. I'm calling like my only friend who's an investor. It's like all of these moments, all these fears, all these things that happen, you end up getting better at solving the problems. And then you'll end up dealing with bigger problems, right? But you're more equipped to deal with the smaller ones. And right now, entrepreneurship for people, it's just how much can you endure? How many problems can you solve? How quickly can you solve them and move on to the next one? That's really what it comes down to. So for us, those are some of the losses, and we've just kind of just taken the hits. And I'm not saying all the days have been pretty, because they haven't, but what do? You give up? Like, that's the last thing that you're going to do.
Yeah.
So.
Dude, it's funny because entrepreneurship and success in keep both of those topics or thoughts in mind. Like I'm trying to show you like a picture of whiteboard in your head, and the trajectory of both of those is not linear. There's so many scribbles and swigs, up, down, left, right, back, and down, till you finally get to that pinnacle. And then once you get there, it's really like the next mountain peak is set in the distance, right? There's never an end to success, just your story and all of that. But someone told us a quote the other day, and I really liked it. It's like, if you don't win, you learn. So there's no such thing as failure, right? And it brings me back to the moments and the time that this property, for example, if we're going to go with this example, that it basically burned to the ground. There's a moment of panic in our heads. We're like, okay, what are we going to do? Instead of panicking, freaking each other out, it's like, okay, let's just figure out logically the steps. Like, what would you do here? You have to take care of the tenants. You have to take care of the property, and just go down a checklist, right? Luckily, to Cory, what he mentioned was Chad had a guide and a podcast, a full episode on his house burnt down and what he did. We listened to the podcast on the way to driving to the property to see what it looked like, followed the checklist, called insurance, did it, mapped it out, and we ended up fine. Like, it took a long time and it was annoying, but the tenants were okay. We ended up being okay. The property is now with another investor that put a fourplex up instead of a duplex. Like, everyone's okay. Everyone actually won in the scenario. But I say this too, when you get into entrepreneurship, there are going to be so many failures that you just need to embrace it and know that day one. And for us, I think about all the time. I wouldn't change what happened, because all these things are just making us stronger every single day. It sucks. It's a pain in the ass when they happen. But the days where we just have the easy wins, you're like, dude, these are payments for all the failures that I had. I don't think about anything as an easy win these days. We're like, you get wired, sell a house, or you get wired something. You're like, well, 17 million things went wrong with that property before I got rid of it anyway. So we had to sell another Airbnb that wasn't generating money, and we dumped a bunch of cash into it thinking it was going to be great. We underwrote the property wrong. Like, there's just things that happen over time, and it's going to happen as an investor. But we've had a lot more wins than losses because we learned to pivot. At some point, you need to know when to give up on something. And I don't mean give up, but like relinquish yourself of the bleeding, right? And then pivot and move on. And I think having a partner has helped at least me a lot. And I should say the same for Cory. Going at this alone, there's a lot of failure, and you can kind of drive yourself crazy, like a hamster on the wheel. You're like, oh my God, like how many different scenarios could possibly happen? And then only one thing actually does happen out of all the scenarios you created in your head. So having an accountability partner to get you through it, through the good and bad, as long as you're both not having a bad day, you're good. And knowing that if the other one's miserable, all right, you got to flip the switch, dude, and get him out of it, because both of you will just dive down the hellhole if not. So, that was a lot there, but I'll say, like, getting through the pain, just know that there's going to be pain. But if you can find an accountability partner, someone that will uplift you through those moments, or a community like we all have, and like other people that have been through this, you'll be fine. You will totally be fine, but it is not for the faint of heart to get in this game. And I think if you know that early on and you buck up, it's going to change your life completely.
Talk to me about partnerships, because that's something that I think in the real estate world, when you start off, people don't talk about partnerships. They're like, go do it your own, But in the startup world, when I talk to VCs, because I have, entrepreneur houses, and some of these startup founders are looking to raise capital. And from VCs, some of them will not even invest in them unless they have a co-founder. They're like, no, because if you have a bad day, the whole company's going to have a bad day. If, you mess up, the whole company's going to be bad. So they actually say, we will not invest in you unless you have a co-founder, a partnership. So walk me through, how'd you guys get connected? I know you guys are probably best friends, way before starting to invest in real estate in the podcast, but I want to hear why you guys chose each other and what characteristics and what roles you two play within your guys' businesses.
Do you want to go into the partnership of us, and then I'll go into the expanded partnerships with other people after that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So I can take it back. Cory and I, we met in college, actually. So about 12 years ago, maybe no, more than that.
Every time we have this conversation, it ends up being longer. We're like, oh, it was 12 years ago. Oh, it's 13. It's 14. Yeah.
I think it's 13. Yeah.
Yeah. 13 years.
Yeah. 13 years ago.
Crazy.
It is wild. So we met in college and instantly hit it off. I don't know what it was. It was like just a likable characteristic. I was like, dude, I like this guy. He was in a fraternity. I was actually going to be joining a different fraternity. He convinced me, along with another gentleman, to join his fraternity. And I was like, because I bought into what they did. And I could just tell he was a stand-up guy. So we started there, ended up rooming together. And then outside of college, I ended up staying locally in Philly. I'm a year older than Cory, so I finished early. And he was still going through school. We ended up, oddly enough, working at the same company with a couple of years apart. And so we would see each other every day. And then, my living situation changed, and I was like, dude, you got any open rooms? And sure enough, one of his roommates 6 months later was leaving. I was like, dude, book it for me. I want that room. So we'd go to work every day together.
The first growth house.
Exactly. The mini growth house. Growth. And so we come home every day and we start talking entrepreneurship, talking about the cars we want to buy. Eventually we'll have a bunch of different properties, and getting pulled into the rabbit hole. Then we came across the FIRE movement, right? The FIRE movement, I should say. And for those who don't know, I'm sure everybody does here that's listening to this show, but financially independent, retire early, or financial independence, retire early movement, and started listening to those podcasts and things. And we're like, dude, we'll get there one day. And what we realized was time just kept going by, and we weren't taking any action. So it's weird, but after we lived together for a little bit, I ended up getting married and bought my first primary residence. Cory went off and did the same, similar times. And then a couple, maybe a year or so went by, and he ended up, I see a picture of him on Instagram. We hadn't talked about it, and a picture of him next to a duplex, or actually it was duplex. Yeah. And I was like, dude, did he buy his first place that we talked about? And he's got the caption just said it just had a 1, like it was his first one. I was like, dude, he fucking did it. He did it that fast. I was so pumped. And I was like, but I got to do it now. We got to do it. So I hit him up immediately. I was like, dude, this is awesome. Congratulations. I want to hear all about it. Ended up linking up. Shortly thereafter, the world shut down. And we had just been talking about the real estate because his property went up, and he's like, do you want to start a podcast? We already went to that earlier on the show. I was like, dude, if you're doing it, I already seen that you're taking action. And we were basically best friends at that point anyways, talking about something. I'm like, I'm in. So that was the inception. I think just talking about us in general, we're both type A people. He is I knew this early on, he had a very quick start, meaning if he has something in his head, he's just going to go for it. And he maybe doesn't think 17 layers deep, which I tend to do. And he's just like, no, we need to make the move. Let's go do it. And prime example was him getting his property, right? I probably would have overthought it, tried to analyze it 17 different ways. Someone would have probably put an offer in before me and got it. So we have a really nice balance of him wanting to go 100 miles an hour, me kind of trying to pick it apart a little bit, try not to overthink it. But over time, our roles have, kind of evolved. We've had to do, as you know, dude, as an entrepreneur, you wear every hat day one, and you have to continue to do that until you can outsource. And I think outsourcing has been a little bit difficult for us because we do like to have so much control, and we're relinquishing that control as we grow. But he's really good with the finances. He keeps our books, and I know there's never a cent that is off, which is amazing. And then I think I'm more of we have an idea on something, and I'm like, okay, I tend to take the integrator hat now, and I'm like, let's just build this friggin' thing out like a maniac and put pieces together. And, then we divide up the roles and take it from there. There's a lot of softwares and things that can help us along the way. But I think our partnership is one, they always say, try to find someone opposite you, which I think we probably would complement each other if we were complete opposites a little bit better. But for us, we are able to go full steam ahead because we're both like optimistic and excited about the future. Even though we're similar, we force ourselves to do the roles that sometimes we don't want to do. And it just having each other and looking and knowing the other person's relying on us to not screw it up, or that every day, like it's not just Ryan going out and like, hey, if I want to have a lazy day, it just affects me. No, it affects Cory and his livelihood. So that kind of keeps you going, even some of the hard days. And I hope that answers some of your questions, but we've learned to divide and conquer. And I think that's the beauty of our partnership.
Seems like you said Cory's more of like the visionary, and then Ryan, you'd be more of the integrator. Would you say that's correct? Or you guys flip-flop depending on certain projects?
I think that's the adopted roles of us, but not 100%. And it's like, so we see a lot of partners out there, and they always say, get somebody who's opposite of you. I think the number one thing is trust over anything. Rye broke that down like perfectly, but overarching anything, the umbrella policy we have is trust. Like that's it. Like, and we trust each other to do, like if he's going to make a move or I'm going to make a move. Sometimes we do things apart, very rarely, but like I bought a property without him this past year because it aligned with my future and like my girlfriend's future. Right. So, but it's the trust that we always have our best interest. And so that would be the number one thing I would say is trust, for sure.
What about looking and adding in different partners? Because I know you said GP on deals, you're part of syndications, and even maybe break down one of those. How'd it come up? Was it through the podcast? Was it through a friend?
Yeah. So this is an interesting thing here. What Ryan and I have been humble, I would say humble enough to realize is that we're good at some things, but we're not the best at everything. And that's something that you might have to realize, like when you get into this real estate game. If Ryan and I were going to go try to buy an 18-unit apartment complex by ourselves, we would get beat by people who do that every day. Meanwhile, we still have our W-2 jobs, right? So we're doing all this on the side. We're not going to compete with our guy, Sean Winslow at Greenbrier Capital. He does this every day. This is what he does. But what we did is we interviewed Sean on our podcast. And Sean realized that you guys are pretty good at marketing yourselves. You have a good network of people that know, like, and trust you. You have a great relationship building tool. So we say, okay, Sean, you're the person who can go find these deals. Let's partner. We'll do marketing. We'll raise some capital. We'll help you underwrite. We know people that know people. And so we end up forming a general partnership on a deal where he's able to do the operational aspect of it, and the property management, and the project management, and we're doing the marketing and some of the capital raising. So that's one of the 18 unit into New Hampshire that we partnered on, because we're finding people that are better than us at certain aspects of certain things. For the short-term rental hospitality business, as an example, Ryan and I have a couple of we are partnered in some short-term rentals on the limited partner side. So we have like a syndication on a 43 unit. Actually, it's like a hotel, right?
It's like a multi-purpose resort.
Yeah, resort.
Hotel. Yeah. And
then there's a collection of 7 bungalows that we're limited partners on. So we put some money in, and what we realized is that the gentleman who's running the operations is really, really good at putting all of this together. And we can help him market his company. We can help him showcase Live Free Hospitality, and who wants to either help get their own property, or they have a property of their own that they want to be managed by Live Free Hospitality, which manages about 100 units right now. That partnership of you're really good with the boots on the ground, we can help you in this virtual world that is so vast. So that type of like, who can bring what to the table, that can help form the partnership. But again, I will go back to the trust factor, because not all partnerships go well. I'm not suggesting somebody runs out there and goes and forms a partnership with the first person that looks pretty on Instagram. It's probably not going to work. And we've gotten bit too. Like, that's life, but we're also not afraid. And I think as long as we know that we're going to do the right thing, and we're going to show up, and we're going to, ride or die for the people who invest money with us, we're going to ride or die for the people who come into our coaching program, who, we're going to do the best we can, knowing that we could potentially fail is we're just not afraid to do it. And I think that's kind of the whole picture there of like finding a partner, but making sure that you're picking the right person, but also knowing that you might not know everything, and it might not go right anyway. But that's the game.
It's leveraging your skill sets at the end of the day, right? You know what you're insanely good at, and you know what you're lacking in. And if you can find people to fill the void that you have, then it's a good partnership. Now, it goes much further than that. It goes down to values and ethics as well. And I think that's that's where it's like, you really need to vet out the people you're going to work with, even if they sound and look good. Like, they're like, how do you really know they're going to put this thing together appropriately? You're going to have to take some risk at some point, right? You can't just form a partnership and at the end of the day, just know it's going to go well 100%, because it could go well in year one. And then year two, there's some hiccups. Like, oh shit, we got to pivot. So I think it's really hard for us. I think we can bring it back to our partnership. And there's the one foundation that never changes is Cory and Ryan. We're always solid together, and we go and we learn and we pivot together. And I think that is like, it, at the end of the day, it is a marriage, right? Like, we're obviously, we have significant others, and that's like a separate thing, but like, we're married in business together, and we know when we go into things together, we can pick things apart as two different brains, and you don't have to just rely on your own emotions all the time. So just wanted to tie it all together, because it's not as easy to bring in outside partners, and you really got to vet people and go through the process of that. And it's lengthy. It's, you know, we had to court people for, 2 years. And what I mean by that is just like feel them out, go meet them, have conversations, and like, how do they adapt to this? How do they answer questions? Do you trust them? And so it's a different thing. We were fortunate enough to know each other for 13 years, right? Or let's just say 9 years before we partnered together, right? So that's a solid foundation. We knew a lot and pretty much everything about each other at that point. So, and also I think it's different when you live with someone. I don't know if you can attest to this, but like through the Growth House, like there's a lot of, you really get to know someone when you live with them and their habits and things. And like, we survived living together and actually had no issues at all. And we're like, okay, dude, we can friggin' do this. So that's just a more ingrained layer. People understand that if you live with other people there, that you really get to know someone on a bunch of different levels, and like cleanliness, like what are their habits? It's an interesting one. So I think that
are they really who they say they are?
Exactly. It glues us even further. So I just wanted to bring that up too. But yeah, man, partnerships, not easy, but they can be very fruitful and rewarding if done correctly.
So good. Yeah. I mean, everyone out there, I mean, they said it. If you want to, before you go in a partnership with someone, make sure you live with them at least for some amount of time. I'm kidding. That was the main point.
AKA Growth House. You can buy it.
Come to Growth House. You'll find your next partner. But I want to tie it back to what you said, because we glanced over it real quick, but the vetting process is so important. Because even for immersion or these masterminds that I host, like, I am so picky about who gets to be in that room, who gets to be a part of the community, who I partner with on, deals. Even someone that wanted to sponsor for our mastermind, I was like, hey man, give me a couple of days. I got to, do some background research. And then he's like, oh, okay. But he also really respected that. He's like, I respect that, because I know you're actually not letting anybody into this community. It's so important to make sure you're surrounded by the right people, like you said, character and values and trust above everything. And so, I had someone that knew their banker, and they're like, all right, give me a second. Called the banker. They're like, checks out. They're good. They're great people. Everything's, lines up. And then boom, I let them, sponsor the event. And we even shared that with them, and they respected that. Like, that's awesome. It's good that you actually vet people out. And so I want to ask you guys how you vet people. Is there anything specific? Is it like, hey, one of my friends says, I'll show you mine if you show me yours. And he's talking about tax returns. And so I'm curious, what do you guys do?
You don't vet people in the beginning, and then you learn how to vet them, because that's what we did. So you do it by, and that's Ryan was talking about my quick start, where what he meant by that's a term like a strength finder, or Colby analysis, like a personality trait, where it's like, if something's in front of you, you just like do you want to go attack it, right? You don't wait, you don't analyze. So like, we have gotten into partnerships where we didn't do the vetting, and that's why we now do the vetting. So it's like, and I don't mean like many, right? But there's been a couple. So the point is like, here's a couple things that you could do is like, make sure you visit this person in person, right? If not in person, have 10, 12 Zoom calls, right? Like, have not just Zoom calls about the business or the product or the solution or the real estate. Learn about this person's family. Like, what is their background? Like, where are they from? Like, how did they make it to the position that they are? And then vetting them would be like, do they know anybody else in your network that you might know? Like, you can see who follows who on Instagram. Like, even ask questions like that. Like, who knows who? Hey, have you ever worked with this person before? How did they react in a bad scenario? I would say those are a couple things. But really, a lot of it is, fortunately and unfortunately, some trial and error for us.
Yeah. And I would say, and I think he was saying that tongue in cheek, we're like, we didn't vet anyone. We definitely did. It's not going down to their bank records, right? But you go, and sometimes early on, dude, like when we were so new in the game, we would ask the basic questions like family values, ethics, go vet other people's situations. But really, like, people are, you have to, sometimes you take people for what their word is, right? And that's where you can get tripped up. Like, you need to go find the other people that they worked with and show proof of concept. And then drilling down, if you can get the W-2 at the end of the year or their bank statement, dude, that's amazing. That's even further. It's like 100% proof. But who's to say they're not photoshopping it? Like, there's some things that, dude, it's no matter what, even if something looks so beautiful on paper, that once that makeup's washed away, you never know what they're actually like. So what I will say is you could be the most intelligent person. You could ask the right questions and you could still get duped at the end of the day. I just want to warn people, not duped, but not what you expected. And you're like, shit, okay, you live and learn. And then once again, that goes back to if you don't win, you learn, right? For us, we went through some of those scenarios. Now we know exactly what we don't do and then what we will do to get into future partnerships. And then we just, at the end of the day, you can break partnerships, right? If it doesn't work out, you're done. Like, okay, it didn't work out for us, but just don't get further and further along into something that's not working, because at some point you just like you're bleeding money and it's not worth it. So
I also want to talk about risk real quick and like your tolerance for risk. Nothing great has ever been achieved with something that has come easy. I'd argue for somebody to debate me on that. What championship has been won on just a simple path? And so the reason why I brought that up is the risk that you take is inherent and you cannot shake it. You're not going to be able to, don't try to go around it. You can analysis paralysis yourself to death about the thing. But guess what? That person might have a divorce in a year that you cannot foresee. And then their life changes. So you can't go in like, this is the perfect scenario. And sometimes if it looks perfect, it's because there's these blinders up and they're actually not perfect. So again, at the end of the day, all of that said, all of the vetting, it takes intuition and a leap of faith about, am I going to do what it takes to get my family or my partner's family in the perfect, in the best scenario that we can with the information we have provided at that time. That's all you can do. You can't script it. So just a caveat there.
Yeah. And I will say a couple other things on partnerships too, like not just partnerships, but getting into, opening up businesses and starting things. Just make sure you build out your team correctly. And what I mean by that, it sounds very basic, but just when we all started getting into the real estate game, right? You think you can do everything yourself, but there's actually like 10 to 15 people you need on your team. A couple of those, just want to mention, get a CPA and get an attorney. And those are people you can run things by to see like, hey, like, is this past the sniff test? And you can pump them information, and they've probably seen some things that they can, mark as a red flag for you. Be like, hey, pump the brakes on this or ask about this, go to the next level. And as we've brought in more people on our team like this, they've helped open our eyes, and like we've maybe just swayed away from a certain partnership, opened a different one, or maybe we were going to start our own business in one lane and we're like, you know what, this doesn't seem like it could be as lucrative. There's a lot of loopholes that you'd have to get through or kind of red flags. So then we just go this way. So it's interesting. I think knowing that you shouldn't be going it alone. And even if you are going to start your business by yourself, just get those teammates around you that are maybe not going into business with you, but that can help poke holes in ideas or business that you want to go through, and make sure you're vetting your questions properly. And then also, number one thing is find a mentor, dude, even if you're going to start a business or you're going to go in a partnership with someone in a specific lane, find a mentor that has succeeded in that lane and ask them the questions you should be asking about. How do you vet this person? How would you vet this business, this opportunity? And if I'm getting answers like this, are these good? Are these bad? And that's really the person, because the mentor it doesn't matter to them. They want to make sure you succeed, right? They want to make sure they're going to give you the best answer because they care about you. They don't get anything out of it, right? And so, whereas if someone's financially tied to it, they can give you a different answer. So that's kind of where I'll end it.
The outside perspective and someone who's already done it, man. Mentorship, man. You either, there was a quote that I heard the other day. It was like, mistakes or mentorship, you choose. And it's so true. So fellas, 100%. Cory, Ryan, when are we quitting our W-2s? When can I fly out to Philly and celebrate you guys quitting those corporate jobs?
That's a great question.
Wait, hold on. Let me just time out here. I love that you put this on air. We talked to you probably for 20 minutes before the episode, and you didn't put us on the spot. So I was waiting. And we have to answer. No, it's good. It's good. I'll let Cory take it.
So we have a comfortable scenario that we're in that, it's like this is like a live coaching session right now, right? We have a comfortable scenario that we're in. Ryan and I are able to do a lot of things and have come this far with the W-2s. But in order for us to go the full distance, we are going to have to break away from them. And if when is this podcast going to air, Jesse?
I would say probably mid-July.
Okay. So I will say July 25.
You want to stamp a year
halfway through next year, I would say you can pretty much book it for Ryan and I.
Yeah.
And I think that's conservative.
I think it's conservative. We
We're
I will
saying it
say
live on
no,
here.
it's conservative. Yeah. We said January of 2025.
We did.
That was our stretch goal, right? Like forcing it. Realistic goal. I like to set both. We all are in sales here, or we were in our former lives, right? So budget, and then you got your stretch goal. Budget, we're giving ourselves July 1, 25. Stretch goal, January of 25. We'll probably end up somewhere in the midst of that. I think it's really contingent upon. Well, there's a lot of things, and I just want to say this too, and there it is a sexy thing to say, hey, leaving W-2 jobs is amazing for everybody, right? And then, but I think I saw a post out there, I forget who it was, basically said, hey, someone grinding 65 hours to make 65,000 a year as an entrepreneur is not in a better place than someone making 140, working 40 hours a week with benefits and working a W-2. And I don't know if I totally agree with that, but what I'm saying is there's no perfect recipe for everyone. I think it just depends on the season of life you're in. And this is not to make excuses, but I'm saying right now with the W-2s, it allows us to look beautiful on paper for real estate. And even if one of us keeps them for a little bit longer, just to be able to look good on a loan and take out things. So we're playing this strategy pretty nicely, I'd say. Also pumping dough into the 401ks to get the tax benefits. There's things we've learned along the way. We're whoa, we can make a lot of extra dough to pay way less in taxes at the end of the year because we've taken advantage of the tax advantage accounts while investing in real estate and building businesses on the side. It's opened my eyes to a lot of things. And so we want to make sure our revenue is at least double or close to what we're making in our W-2s, because you're going to then lose the benefits, the health benefits. You're then going to lose the match on the 401k. Not that the 401k is that crazy of a thing, right? But just if shit hits the fan, then, also we need to then stack 2 years of revenue on paper from our businesses to look good to a lender. So there's a lot of different things within that conversation. And it's not as easy as, even if we make we replace our income from our W-2, is that still the time to both leave at the same time? I think we can leverage each other and kind of play a little bit, but we'll give you July 1, 25. I just want to say in there for people, I know it sounds sexy and you should put a timestamp on it so you can at least try to attain that. But there are a lot of benefits to keeping your W-2 job while you navigate the journey. I think we've
Depends on your personal scenario.
Yeah.
100%. Depends on your personal scenario. So it's not a either or. It's what works for you.
Totally agree. I mean, you guys are in different positions. I know one of you are married. You have a kid, 1 or 2 kids?
Just one.
Just one
That's
kid.
me. Yep.
And then also, I think you get more creative when you have that burn the boats. I definitely didn't burn the boats because I replaced, I'm someone that people kept asking. I was I'm not ready yet. I want to replace at least my base salary of 6 figures. So it's not like I just jumped and said, hey, here I go. I don't have any game plan. So I totally understand and get it. One thing for me that changed everything, which I think I talked about on our podcast, was pen to pad, bro. I don't know what it is about it, but literally I finally got my 2 houses in a year after analysis paralysis for 5 years. And then I wrote down February of 2022. And you guys remember the story. I got fired. And then all of a sudden I have a severance package that literally ended February of 2022. So you guys setting those goals, God works in crazy ways. And then also just things come together. And then once you quit, then you realize all right, I got to get creative. And I think that will spur some creativity for you guys. And so I'm excited for that. And anything I can do to help, I want to be a part of the community you guys are growing. And I'm excited for that. So hopefully I didn't put you on the spot too much, but I wanted that.
Dude, we need that.
I wanted to hear this.
We need it. We want it. And the pen to paper thing, that is it's everyone's looking for a hack or a secret or a trick. And it's it really is. And this is proof. In 2023, Ryan and I had goals written on a whiteboard, and it was sitting behind my desk. It's over there in the corner. And it was on the wall, but not something I ran up to and was staring down every day. It was just written down. And then, December 23, we went and looked at it and we're we did all this shit. We did every single thing on here. Everything was checked off. And they weren't actually checked off. I went over and checked them off that day, but we did all of them. And it is a very interesting thing, pen to paper. So that's I think we have not put pen to paper on when we're leaving our jobs. It's because it has been, the priority has been building this business to then make a much simpler and less drastic and less, I guess the decision can be a more disciplined one, so to speak. So yeah.
Yeah. And I will say you got to forecast out your future as well too. And it's so funny because then you can talk yourself back into keeping the job and all this stuff, but you may make a certain amount of income for 1 year, but is that a sustainable business model that you can continue to go? And I think there's burning the boats. I do love that idea. Like, I think, how do I want to say this? You will have a lot more time in the day to focus on what's most important to you in like that new business that you're in. And like the thing, like, for example, Growth House, like what's Cory and Ryan's thing? Is it going to be there? Is it going to be the mentorship program, the coaching, the one-on-one? At one point we thought it was going to be full-time, short-term rental hospitality business. Another time we thought it was going to be buying creative finance. Another thing was like podcast full-time, and they all tie into each other. And so what we're trying to find the balance of is like, how do we, right now, I think we're spreading ourselves a little thin because we tend to take on a lot. And as I mentioned, it's just us and we're learning to outsource. And I think when you put 20% in each bucket, you're then sacrificing what you could be with 100% in one bucket. And so to continually having to shut our brain off from the W-2 and pick up on these little buckets along the way, it's like, okay, dude, this is a small drip over time. And it's been great. It's been awesome. We're a drastically different spot than we were, but can we pick one, stick to it, and just and level it up? And then, I think other things can branch off it, but I will say that's a word to the wise on like taking partnerships on and starting a business. The riches are in the niches, as I've heard before. And I found a lot of people become very successful when they focus on the one thing. And then once they've mastered that, then they can pivot and go to the next thing. For us, I think it's taking on a little bit too many projects at once and then getting ourselves stressed out, having to like leapfrog and hop and deciding when we need to focus on one or another.
Don't build 5 bridges halfway across the water, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So leaving the W-2 will cascade us into, hey, dude, you got to pick one and let's run with it. So like, that's what we're kind of pen to paper, right? In the next couple months is like, really this month, we're like, okay, dude, where do we want to be? Here's our goals, put it on paper and let's attack it. So in a year, see us in a year, dude, we'll see you before then, but I think we'll be in a drastically different spot and it'll be exciting.
I love it. And I've never shared this, but I'm going to share something that's very unsexy to say, especially on an entrepreneurship podcast. If I would have stayed in my corporate role, my net worth would be way higher right now. I probably would have more houses I would own, but I would not have started Growth House. I wouldn't have the relationships I have that literally fulfill me, and I would have been able to impact the amount of people that I've been able to impact. I would have never hosted masterminds. I would never have an online community. I would never be in Cabo right now for a week and be able to do everything remote. I would not be able to travel with now my best friend, Brian Lubin, for 3 months in Europe. Like, there's life things that I put on my life resume that would not have been able to happen if I didn't quit and go all in entrepreneurship. So it is definitely kind of a catch-22 where it's like, okay, maybe on paper, Jesse would be net worth higher, more homes I would be able to afford, because you're right, the bankable thing is real. And so it took me 2 years, and now I'm finally on the other side through relationships and connections where I'm like, dude, people want me to start a fund for co-living because they believe in what we're doing. People are begging to, throw 50, 100K into the next project that I'm working on. That wouldn't have been able to happen if I kept my corporate job, because I never would have been thinking outside the box. I would have been like, I use all my own capital on these deals. So I definitely wanted to, I've never shared that before. And it's something that I'm glad you guys brought up, because there is 2 sides to it for sure.
And there's more than that, actually. I mean, there's a million ways to live a life, man. There's a million ways that you can take this thing. And it's like, what is your priority based on where you want to be? That's really what it comes down to. We, in the coaching program that we're starting, I imagine we're going to run into people that are like, hey, I have this great high-paying W-2 job and I have 2 kids and I just want stability for my family. Great. Let's help you build more stability. Let's help you put the money in the right bucket, help you get some real estate, help you flourish that way and keep that job that you like. You know what I mean? Like, it's not to say that it should be all or nothing and everyone should leave their jobs, because if everyone left their jobs, there would be no infrastructure in the United States. We need people that want to work for someone else. We need that, right? So I think it's all about who you want to be, where you want to be, and what you really value in your life, and what your 10-year from now self is going to think looking back.
Yeah. I think, dude, I love that you brought that up, and vulnerability is one of the best things. And that's how you can tell it's an authentic conversation, which is awesome. I think about this as like, I heard this one time before, I forget how many years ago, but there's capital that you can earn from a job, right? But then think about all the relationship capital that you've earned the last couple of years. And dude, I'm telling you, like right now, let's just say the 1, 2, 3 years that you've been out of your job and you've been, maybe you haven't made as much as you possibly could have working in the W-2. One of these relationships or 2 or 3 that you've built in that bucket of years is you're going to 10x in 1 year at some point. It might be next year, it could be the year after, but it's going to way blow past all the money that you would have made in the W-2. It's just the timing and what works right. And so that's kind of what gets us through it. We realize like one relationship can completely change your life. Could be for better, could be for worse. So I think we like to put our message out there and bring people into our community and bring people into our network and just be like, who do we vibe with? Who is like on the same level as us? Who do we look up to? But it comes down to good people, good conversations. Like, dude, having this conversation today is one of my favorite of all time, just because I feel like I found another Ryan and Cory. We actually felt this a couple of weeks ago when we were on the podcast, but you just vibe with someone so much that you're like, dude, that's some guy I'd want to go to war with, and let's just fucking buck up and go. And so finding those people, it could take 200 podcast episodes. You don't know when these relationships they're gonna happen, and then how you follow through with them, you keep in touch. It's a lot of work and things like that. But I will say it's better in some situations than sitting at a W-2 behind a computer and just working to earn the money every day. And then you go back to the beautiful home, but you're lacking in those other relationships and the things that excite you and the curiosity in the world. And I think that's something that when we're tired and we, maybe don't want to do a podcast after just grinding 8 hours in a day and you have 2 podcasts back to back, you're like, dude, this is gonna be a long day. Then you have one of those conversations that just ignites you again. Like, this is why we do it. So I say that to say all this hard work helps you uncover the diamond in the rough relationships that you probably wouldn't have in the W-2 because you're surrounding yourself with other people that are just in the W-2 doing the same thing, right? They're waking up, going to work, doing the same cycle over and over. But when you talk to entrepreneurs, they're trying new shit. They're like, dude, this works. This didn't work. Don't do this. Do this. And like, you're like, whoa, there's a whole other world out there that I didn't even know existed before this. And that's exciting. And that kind of brings the life back out to you. At least for us, it has. So I think it's probably just because we're super competitive guys. And I think we've outgrown I don't know if it's a thing of like, if it's a pride thing to say, but I love knowing all the other shit I'm doing while still having a W-2 job. And I look around at everybody. I'm like, man, you don't even know what my nights are like, bro. You have no idea. Like, they're complaining about random shit, about something to do at work. I'm like, you got no idea. You literally have no idea. I have another 40 hours I got to go do. But like, it's about cool shit. And I don't know how to explain it. Entrepreneurs will get that. And I'm sure there's another whole world when we go full time, right? We're not even there yet, dude. And that's what's exciting for us. We're in our early 30s. And I feel old at this point because of because the game I'm in. I'm like, dude, we've seen some shit. Like, I've lived so many lives here. But for the next stage, I'm just excited for whenever that time comes. And this whole thing's a game. Yeah, July 1st, 2025. The whole thing's a game, and we're super competitive guys, and I think that's what kind of gets our juices flowing. And this whole game is just why it gives us purpose. So
I love that. Cory and Ryan, appreciate you just hopping on, being transparent. That's what I love about you guys. That's why you were like the podcast I was daily like diving into. I'm like, I binge your stuff because I don't think you had that many episodes when I first started listening to you. And I just remember binging it, and I remember I didn't have friends, bro. Like, I didn't have friends that thought like me. And anyone else out there right now, there's not too many cities where there's entrepreneurs all around you. Number one, I suggest, especially if you're in your 20s, you're single, go move to the freaking city with the hustlers, with those dogs that you want to be surrounded with. If you can't do that for whatever reason, plug this podcast in, Weekly Juice. Like, the input that you have is so important. There's so much negativity out there. I don't watch any news. I don't watch any TV. I rarely watch movies or TV shows. Like, it's so important to just fill yourself with good input, especially starting off, because, there's a lot of negativity. And so I just want to thank you guys for being that positive input when I was just surrounded by negativity, surrounded by this cubicle, trying to figure a way out. So like I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for being on the podcast. Before we wrap it up, I want to say, how can someone provide value to both of you? People are going to reach out. People are going to be like, dude, love this podcast, love the transparency. They're going to listen to some of your shows, but we are a go-giving community. No one's going to say, can I pick your brain? They're going to lead with value. So what type of value can they lead with when they reach out to you guys?
That's a great question. I don't think many people, first of all, thank you. I mean, that means we've already had this conversation on our podcast, but it means more than you know to know that you can affect somebody 2,000 miles away without actually having met them in person. And that's going to change, obviously. But we appreciate you, what you're building. There's a lot of like-mindedness, synergy in the room, the two rooms. Your room's nicer than ours, by the way. But we appreciate it, man. That means a lot. In terms of value to us, I think honestly, just tapping into what we have going on, following us on Instagram at Weekly Juice Pod, following, listening to our podcast. And then if you want to learn more about us, shoot us a DM. We're happy to chat, but this coaching program that we're starting, we want to work one-on-one with the 6-figure earner, the 25 to 40-year-old person who's like, I know how to make money, but I don't know how to grow it. How do I grow my money? Like, can you give me the roadmap that where I can go from, I feel like I'm living paycheck to paycheck, inflation's hitting me, like, what am I doing with this, to like, maybe you can get a couple properties, you can have some money and some assets, it can grow for you, and before you know it, you're on the cusp of financial freedom, which is where we are, and we want to help people get there. So that's value, I mean, to us, because we really want to provide the value to those people. So follow us, maybe join us on our coaching program. We would love to have you, and those are probably the ways.
Yeah, there's a couple things there. First of all, Jesse, appreciate you more than you know, dude. I think I want to start here, and like, you've helped us. It's insane how timing works. I think you've helped us reaffirm our goals and what we should be doing for the future. Having the conversation with you, I a month or so ago, let's just call it, maybe a little bit more, and deriving from the DMs and you checking in and like keeping up with taking action in your life and changing your life, and us realizing that there's people out there that are not, maybe they're not Jesse's that are DMing us. They're just other people, and we have impacted their lives, or similarly to us, when we go listen to a podcast, our lives were changed by other people's, right? Other people, we know they're out there. You voicing that and telling us, I think it reaffirmed that we are on the right path. And it's like, dude, we need to open this program up to people to show them exactly what we've done over the last 4 years, because look at how Jesse changed his life. And dude, that's not saying we didn't even work one-on-one. You were just listening to some shows, you listen to some other shows, and you piece the puzzle together. So how can we give someone the key and say, dude, here's the roadmap, just follow this, take action. You could be like Jesse, you could be like other people. And so I think for us to provide value is like, dude, we're going to have you join, Jesse, join our coaching program as maybe like a guest speaker. Other people, if you have people in your network that listen to the show and they have inspiring stories and they've reached that level of financial freedom, great, we'll have them on the show. The 2 people that you referred to us already have been amazing guests. I'm not going to give away their names yet, but they'll be on the show in a couple of weeks. And I think for us, we just like to provide value. So if people are they're stuck and they want to talk, A, DM us on Instagram, but B, if you want to be on the show and you might be in Jesse's network, that's another thing too. The value is reciprocal here. I don't have a scripted answer for this, for how we can provide value, because dude, I just feel like this conversation provided enough value for me to figure out like, hey, this is what I want to do next. And your story has just reaffirmed for Cory and I, we're on the right path, and there's something that we should be doing. And I think we've kind of pivoted away from it for a long time because it's scary and it's big. And I think we need to realign, and just like I said in this whole show, like, life begins outside your comfort zone. Dude, it's time to buck up and do it. So I'll end with that. And I'll just say, dude, thanks again. I really mean it it's funny when you feel like, I personally feel like we found someone that is like completely aligned with what we're doing. I want to also say I'm obsessed with Growth House. I will also be one of the people investing in the fund if you actually do that in the next couple of years, because it's so genius to surround yourself with people, or find those people as early on as possible, that want a different life than what is painted by others, what 90% of the population are doing, and then what they're teaching you to become in school. I think if you can break free from that and become that 10%, you're just going to live a different life and you probably are going to see, it's the people you read about in books, the people you see on Instagram and like, or social media, or the billionaires, the millionaires you look up to, you're like, they took a risk, they did it. And so if we can kind of coach and pivot and help people along the way on their journey and give them the fire to get there, because that's what we did. That's our goal. That's our mission. You can become a millionaire. You can do this. I don't care what situation you're in. You can break out of it. It comes with mindset, comes with accountability, comes with community. And I think all 3 of us have done that here on this podcast and in our lives. And I'm just excited to hopefully bring more people into our sphere network and take this thing head on, man.
So as far as like the online community, still figuring that out. So what I did was, hey, this immersion which is a mastermind for 3-4 days. That I know how to do. So I'm gonna put all the people for the last 2 months who signed up into this online community. And I'm going to have people in there. So it kind of shows that, hey, we have people in our community. And so I did master classes. I did like 3 master classes, Dave Pierre, some other guys. And then now I'm putting on that all in the vault in the library. And then what I want to do is do accountability meetings. But at the end of the day, our community is pretty small right now. So it was hard to have people actually engage with that. But in the future, it's going to be weekly accountability meetings broken out by what their level is, and also maybe location as soon as it gets big enough. And then also bringing in like not personal, but professional advisors, whether that's lenders, whether that's CPAs, just like, resources that people need. I'll probably bring those type of people on monthly or quarterly. And then that's kind of my game plan, but I'm not sure who my target audience is for the online community. Me personally, I've kind of been tired of working with people who are just starting out. And so I think I'm going to set a limit of you have to make at least $250K in your business outside of the job. So you need to have actually a business, or you need to have at least 2 rental properties. And so for me, that takes my, what's personally Jesse's biggest, strength. It's connections and ability to connect people, but also provide the who for people. Like I can, but my expertise is maybe co-living. So I can do a co-living course, but there's not really any other courses I can do. So for me, I need to have people at a certain level that need that who, that can then get value from that. So for me, it's definitely revolving around the people, which is, kind of a rare model, because I think a lot of people are specific and you can make a lot more money, like, of niching down. And so that's why I'm going for a higher level caliber demographic, whatever you want to call it. And as far as the in-person mastermind, what we've done in the past, which this is kind of a hack that accidentally happened, was I did it for basically 4 days. The first day was a mentor and VIP only. So I have all my mentors, who are probably about 10 of them, 7-figure guys who just want to hang out with me and hang out with other people who are like-minded. They come, it's free. And then also the people that want to stay and get content, that have a servant leader's heart and are go-givers, they want to stay and just help out for free anyways. So I basically get free mentors to do the coaching for the next 2 days. And I make it fun. I have private chefs. I do it in a mansion. So that's kind of a hack that I've realized, that if you have a good community, which both of us have, you have so many people that would love to be a part of whatever you guys host. Get them on a day where they're going to get value, because you're going to connect them with all the other high-level people. And then 2 days, they get to be a part of the content and everything else, and you get mentors for free. And then the last day is kind of like a fun day that we ended up doing. So going forward for the next one, because we've had so many people reach out that are super high net worth and have big businesses, the first night, instead of doing just like a mentors night, is going to be 8-figure plus. So Thursday night is 8-figure plus. And then the next day, half the day is 7-figure plus. And then we start the actual immersion, where it's 6-figure plus, 250K, or 2 rental properties. And then we do that day, and then 2 more days. And the last day is kind of a fun day where we rent a yacht or a boat or something. So that's kind of like our model right now.
When you say it, thank you for that, by the way. So immersion, as in like, are you sitting down with people and having them like stand up and talk about their businesses, and then you guys break apart the, like, how you can help them out? Or what's the...
Oh, was it actually happen at immersion?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can actually send you the agenda so you can have kind of like a guideline of what I did. But essentially, we had two main topics. Day one of the actual immersion was basically pitch competition, raising capital, finding partnerships. So that's why I had a deep. He led the pitch competition. And so we had, which I wanted the attendees to pitch, because I'm like, this is a perfect room for people that want to work with you, will tell you what you should do for me to give you money. But unfortunately, all our attendees weren't at that level. So I was like, screw it. I'm going to have the mentors pitch. So the mentors were pitched. That expanded everyone's mind, because they're talking about millions of dollars instead of like $50,000 that they need for a down payment for a house hack. So that was kind of cool. And then basically our schedule was like in the morning, breath work, and then cold plunge. And then it was breakout sessions. And so what I didn't teach at all the whole weekend. All I did was facilitate. So for example, we did intros, which this is something Diego taught me, which was fire. What I did was I said, all right, guys, intros, you got 30 seconds, except you are not introducing yourself. We're going to spend 3 minutes, turn to the person next to you, partner up. You need in 3 minutes to learn the other person to give the intro on that person, which made it way more fun, way more engaging. And I don't know, you can probably do this also virtually. So it doesn't have to be in
Yeah.
person. So basically they ended up doing that. I asked them 3 questions. What's their name? Where are they from? What's their biggest win in their business? After that, then each person individually themselves shared their biggest challenge in their business. So then we could look around the room and I'm like, hey, you have every resource. Everything's free online. You're looking for the who now. The who is in this room, or they know the who. So that's kind of how we did the intros. And then as far as the breakout sessions, it was actually catered specifically to what I knew that the attendees needed. So one of them was like about creative finance. So I said, all right, for creative finance, break out into the movie theater room. Everyone that's needing help with, what's another one? Actually, it's funny because this one was relationships. People, we did this off the cuff. We had like a relationship expert in the room. He's called the Millionaire Date Doctor, and everyone's like, "Dude, can we do a session with him?" I'm like, "Michael, you down?" He's like, "Yeah, bro." I'm like, "Cool." Everyone wants to do relationships. Get in this room, and then I brought also a couple of my guys who are like super happily married and successful. I'm like, also, we're gonna bring some happily married people, so then you have a different, perspective. So that was like
That's
off
cool.
like the cuff, but it was super fun. But yeah, bro. That's
Man,
kind of
dude.
like how we set it up.
Dude, what do you, if you don't mind me asking, what do you
Yeah.
charge for a ticket for something like this? Like, did you make any, and I'm not saying you're trying to make money off this, but it is a business model, right?
100%. Yeah,
Did you,
we definitely want to make money. Do we make money? The first one we did for 21 days, I lost like 20 something grand. So no, but
Okay.
the second one was also kind of like, honestly, like 20,000.
just for content to get out there and get your established, right? Some of these early
Yeah, well,
ones.
the next one we're definitely gonna profit, hopefully a lot. So this one
Okay.
we still didn't market it correctly. I think I definitely need to work on that. But we basically broke even. And when I say break even, meaning that I was actually able to pay my people. I had 2 assistants; they were volunteers. I want to pay them next time. We had 3 people on our production team. One of them got paid real good. The other 2 barely got paid. I just kind of paid them like off of a little bit. So we essentially broke even, but I was able to pay everyone, which was really nice. The last time we lost 20 grand and I didn't pay anybody who was a part of it. So it's
Progress.
steps. But as far as
Progress.
it is levels to this. As far as actually I can share with you right now because I put it together. So what we're gonna charge for the 8-figure night. And the goal is for the 8-figure night to have the right people in the room that want to stay and help out with the next 2-3 days. So right now we have the 8-figure night at $1,500 just for that night. And then the next day, the 7-figure day would be 1,800. And then I'm not charging that much for those, even though I'm putting together such a powerful room because I want them to then stay for the next 2 days. So the actual mastermind itself is for everyone who's an OG, who's been a part of immersion 1 or immersion 2, we're doing $2,500. And then everyone who's new, we're doing $3,250 for that would be half of the 7-figure day and then 2 days. So essentially like 2.5 days of masterminds.
So worth it.
It's so worth it
You're
for the people
undervaluing it, but I love it.
Yeah, I mean, they're going on vacation,
it's a
dude,
slow,
and learning so much.
It's a slow process. And by the next one, I want my online community to be like rocking and rolling. And that's the whole point of, events is to pitch into your, reoccurring revenue.
Well, dude, and look at all the content you're getting too. Like I saw some of the video work and things like, dude, that it's for people to visualize and feel like they want to be there. They need to see that stuff. So you're selling right now. Those things are selling your future events
100%.
and all the people are going to want to come back and like, no, it's brilliant. I think it's awesome, dude. And think about all the value. It is, how do I say this? Obviously, I don't want to say undervaluing it, but you can certainly charge more. I think we would pay more to go there because you're like, whoa, dude, I'm getting a vacation, getting around people that I might find a partnership. It's just going to level people up, dude. And then weaving in the coaching and stuff and that's awesome. Thanks for the breakdown because I think in-person stuff's really cool and that's where you really get to know people versus virtually. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think virtual is awesome. It's kind of like mostly accountability, but then, once or twice a year, that's why we do this twice a year. Like I want people to follow up with these people. Like the whole thing is building that relationship. Like you guys talked about on the podcast, one person can change your entire life. Just like how, I wouldn't have been able to do all this if I kept my corporate job. This one relationship, from the people there is going to completely change my life.
100%, dude.
Yeah, man.
You're killing it, man. I'm proud of you. It's fucking awesome.
We actually got another podcast in 20 minutes, so
oh, shoot.
I need a break. But
were you tapping out?
I need a minute. But this was awesome, man. Mid-July.
Recording us this too. No, it's October 17th for the 8-figure room, and then we'll start like immersion 18th to the 20th.
Got it.
Word.
Mic drop right there. Jesse Ray with the Growth House Podcast. My two friends, Cory and Ryan with the Weekly Juice. Appreciate you, fellas. I'm going to link everything so people connect with you. We're out.
Thanks, brother.
Peace.